Let's do a quick recap. It's 1090 and the Almoravids have put their hands on Malaga, Granada and Almeria along with their surrounding regions. Ever since the take of Granada, Al-Mutamid of Sevilla started to feel uneasy about the presence of the Almoravids in Spain. He knew he was next on their radar. Now, before getting into the crux of the matter, we have to lay out the context and talk about the Emir of Sevilla and his kingdom. Because his was a very unique kingdom, and he was a very unique king. First of all, the territory was significantly bigger as it covered from current-day South Portugal to southeast of Toledo. Al-Mutamid himself was quite different from the others. And we could do a whole series on his reign due to the sheer complexity of his character. He was a poet, as were some of the Taifa kings. And yes, he did enjoy the evenings of drinking and partying. He was loved to death by his court and followers. On the political front, he exerted significant influence over the other Taifa kings, and was as ruthless as it gets. On the battlefield, he was very brave and a fine strategist. In Sagrahat, for example, he stood his ground firmly against the heavy charges of Alfonso's knights. So, as you can see, he was far from the stereotype of the drunken poet and sexual deviant we have in mind when thinking of the emirs of the Taifas. However, when looking at his political decisions, we can understand the reasons that led to his deposition. It appears he carries the responsibility for a lot of the trouble which happened during that period. For starters, he has been paying tribute to Alfonso VI for a while, and was always on the lookout to cut more deals with him. A prime example of this would be his involvement during the siege of Toledo in 1085. Another example would be in 1070, when coming to the rescue of the Emir of Cordoba, who was attacked by the Emir of Toledo. He ruthlessly took advantage of the situation to add Cordoba to his realm and depose its ruler. While all of this was happening, his nights of drinking and partying just kept going. We even have poems of his in which he describes, in rather honest words, the whole scene. Now, with the context laid out, let's dive into the events at hand. We previously mentioned that Yusuf Ibn Tashfin had summoned the Taifa kings after the take of Granada to discuss the situation in Al-Andalus. Al-Mutamid responded to the call to give his respect to the Emir of the Muslims. The wrath of the Emir was palpable, and Al-Mutamid left the city scared to death. He rushed back to Sevilla and literally started to pack his things. Yusuf's informant kept him up to date, so he sent one of his men, شرور الحمشي, to deliver a message. الأمير يحتاج إلى تذكارك بعد الأمر, he said. The Emir needs to remind you of certain affairs. But nothing could change his mind. Al-Mutamid rushed to Cordoba, where he met Ibn al-Aftas of Badajoz and told him, أنجو بنفسك, فقد ترى محل بصاحب غرناطة وغدا بنا. Save yourself. Haven't you seen what happened to the Emir of Granada and tomorrow to us? Yusuf Ibn Tashfin sent another envoy to remind him of their arrangement. And Yusuf, while doing so, was watching Al-Mutamid's reaction and gathering more evidence to build his case against him. Al-Mutamid started to take practical steps to strengthen the defense of the city. His son told him, ألم أقل لك يا أبتي يخرجنا هذا الصحراوي من بلادنا إن أنت أوردته علينا. Did I not warn you, O father, that this desert Bedouin will kick us out of our city if you called upon him? To which Al-Mutamid responded with a popular saying, يا بني لا ينجي حذر من قدر, which basically translates to, warnings do not save from reality. At this point, the message was now clear for both parties. Al-Mutamid was not going to go down without a fight, whatever it took. He reaches out to Alfonso as a last-ditch attempt to save his kingdom. His letters are intercepted by Yusuf's guards, after what the Emir of the Muslims sends yet another warning to Al-Mutamid to not cooperate with their common enemy. We have to take a pause here and commend Yusuf Ibn Tashfin for the remarkable patience and wisdom shown dealing with Al-Mutamid. He gave him every chance to come back to the ranks of the Muslims and the benefit of every doubt. But at this point, the evidence stacked up to a point of no return. The fuqaha of Yusuf were categorical. Al-Mutamid had to be taken down. So Yusuf put himself to task. He started by sending letters to the surrounding areas of the kingdom of Sevilla, to the people directly, requesting from them that they joined the Almoravids and made themselves free from the wrongdoings of Al-Mutamid, to which most favorably responded. And remember, at this time, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin is still in Ceuta from where he oversees the situation. He starts then working on a full-fledged plan for the takeover. In the meanwhile, defense preparations in Cordoba were going strong, led by Al-Ma'mun ibn al-Mu'tamid. His father had fired him up for the defense, telling him, لا تجزع فالموت أهون من الظلم وليس السلطان إلا من القصر إلى القبر. Do not be afraid, for death is better than humiliation, and life of the kings only goes from the palace to the tomb. The Almoravids had surrounded and led the siege to the city, and at its head was the companion Abi Abdullah ibn al-Hajj. They managed to get into the city, and Al-Ma'mun, son of Al-Mu'tamid, is killed in the battle that ensues. And so they enter Cordoba in 1091, and wrest control over the surrounding regions. Al-Mu'tamid was now left with only Ronda, Sevilla, and Martella to the west. The strategy laid out by Yusuf Ibn Tashfin was to encircle Sevilla for a final siege to the city. And so, another son of Al-Mutamid, Yazid al-Radi, is killed in the siege of Ronda, and the Emir of Martella swiftly surrenders. After making sure to win over the areas around Sevilla, the siege around the capital of Al-Mutamid is laid out. But still, the cunning Emir of Sevilla is not done. He dispatches envoys to Alfonso VI to ask him for help, promising him his kingdom, to which the Christian king responds by sending 20,000 knights and 10,000 troops. And when the companion Sir ibn Abi Bakr hears of the movements of the Christians, he assigns troops of his own from the best warriors of the Almoravids to meet them halfway and prevent them from entering Sevilla. 10,000 riders from the Almoravids are sent to the front at the castle of Almodovar. The war that ensues, as you could imagine, is bloody and heavy casualties are felt on both sides. And I could not find many sources documenting this battle, so it is tricky to really know the details, but what we know for sure is that the Almoravids ultimately defeat the Christians. And all of this is happening while Al-Mu'tamid is in his castle in Sevilla, dreading what was coming for him. The siege lasted for a period of 4 months, during which the Sevillians started to switch allegiance and revolted against Al-Mu'tamid. During the chaos that follows, a breach in the walls is open, and the Almoravids take advantage and go in. Al-Mu'tamid is captured, and him and his family are given a guarantee of safety, despite all the trouble that he had caused. Al-Mu'tamid is then moved to the Maghreb region, first for a short stay in Tangier, then to his final destination, the city of Ahmad, nearby Marrakesh. He would finish his days there in 1095. He spent the last few years of his life writing poems. He wrote about his sorrows and his memories of life in the jewel city of Sevilla. The series will continue with the last video on the Taifa kings and the deposition of Al-Mutawakkil ibn al-Aftas of Badajoz. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. Consider liking, commenting, or sharing. It would help immensely. See you next time.